So I'm going to start the evening off by sharing a little bit of a story with you. I was at work when I got a call from my husband. He was livid. He said that I could deal with the damn teenagers and that he was going to the war. Now, the damn teenagers were my daughter, who was a freshman in high school, and his son, who was a senior in high school. And they both lived with us full time, and they both despised one another. And apparently, someone had broken a glass in the basement game room, and neither one of them was claiming the accident. Both of them was blaming the other, and neither one of them would clean up the mess. So when I got home, there was definitely tension in the house. They had each retreated to their separate corners, their separate bedrooms, and they were poised for a fight against me and against one another. So I sat them down at the kitchen table on either side, and I stood between them. Now, my daughter had bright red hair at the time, and she was a tiny little thing, and she was just sitting there with her arms crossed looking at the floor. And Skylar, my stepson, was 6'2", tall, lanky, long hair, gauge in his ears, and he was kind of sitting laid back like this. Neither of them wanted to be there. So I started with the truth. I said, look, guys, I know that neither one of you asked to be part of a blended family. Neither one of you asked to have the other in your lives. I said, Rebecca, you didn't ask for a brother. Skylar, you didn't ask for a little sister. But here you are. And the two of you are going to need to learn to abide with one another. And then I looked at Rebecca and I said, let's be honest, honey. You were better off with your stepfather in your life. And she kind of shrugged and moved a little bit. And then I looked at Skylar and I said, Skylar, I know that you are better off with me in your life. And he goes, yeah, so. And I said, so the two of you are better off with each other in your lives. And the truth is that you're family now, and you have to get along. And to drive home the point a little bit more, I said, if one of your friends had broken that glass, and I had told you to pick it up, would you have said, I'm not cleaning it up, my friend did it? And both of them said no. And I said, no, you wouldn't. You would just clean it up. So that the two of you saw each other as allies, as friends. This wouldn't be happening because someone would have just cleaned it up. And I said, so here is your punishment. And I put down a list of chores between the two of them. It was everything that I could think of that needed to be done around the house, both inside and outside. And I said, the two of you, one list, everything done by the end of the weekend. And by the end of the weekend, the house was spotless, inside and out. They had divided up the chores and they had gotten everything done. However, my intended result did not happen. They were not any closer to being friends or learning how to abide with one another. They had just retreated to their separate corners, their separate rooms, and they were still poised for a fight. Until a couple months later, when there was a thunderstorm and the power went out at the house. And it was after my husband and I had gone to bed, but the teenagers were still awake. And they found themselves with no TV, no Xbox, no car, no friends, only each other. And they found some candles and they found some cards and they began a conversation. And they shared stories with one another. And what they found was that they had a lot more in common than they thought. And that conversation became the catalyst for a friendship that still exists today. Even though Skylar's father and I are no longer married, and they are technically not family, Skylar and Rebecca are still friends. And when I look at what has been happening in our community over the last couple of months, I cannot help but draw some parallels. There are people in our community that act like damn teenagers. I didn't create the problem, why should I clean it up? And then there are a whole lot of people that see the list of things that need to be done and they are checking stuff off the list. They are getting shit done. And thank goodness for that. But what I really hope is that we take the time to listen to one another's stories by candlelight because we will find that we have so much more in common than we do different. And that we are better off with each other in our lives, in our world, in our community. Tonight, you are going to get a chance to hear 4 storytellers, and I can guarantee that you will find yourself in each one of their stories. So, let's give them a round of applause.